Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. After the heat, fire. A brutal 24 hours as a wave of fires in record heat destroys homes, gardens and countryside across the region.
I've been in the service over 30 years. I've seen nothing that compared to yesterday in terms of levels of activity, both for our firefighters out there dealing with it and also for our fire control staff.
We'll be asking about the chance of rain to prevent further destruction. Also tonight, could nationalisation be on the cards to secure the future of Doncaster Airport? As our top women footballers lead the Lionesses against Spain, we're live at Yorkshire's newest football club looking for the next generation of soccer supremos.
And a fairly quiet period of weather, thank goodness. Join me for that detailed forecast.
Hello, thanks for your company this evening. After the heat wave, fire. Yorkshire's Fire and Rescue Services say they've dealt with twice the number of emergency calls usually received nationally in 24 hours as record temperatures triggered blazes in both urban and rural areas. At least 10 homes were completely destroyed. Just take a look at these images, and numerous gardens and fields across North, South and West Yorkshire. It's a day of shocking statistics that's been described by fire officers as brutal as demand for help outstripped resources. Take a look at these figures. In West Yorkshire Control Room, teams received more than 2,300 calls. Now, usually there are 2,000 calls per day for the entire country, and crews went to 275 fires. On the hottest day ever recorded in the UK, South Yorkshire firefighters dealt with more than 2,000 calls and responded to 228 incidents. A major incident was declared there. Another major incident was also called by North Yorkshire Fire Service, who received 172 emergency calls yesterday, responding to 57. Now, in a moment, we'll be talking to Dave Walton from West Yorkshire Fire Service, but first, Corin Wheatley has this roundup.
Pulled all these fence panels down here. I wet that. All my summer house, I was just dousing down with water. Kids were getting buckets of water out of here, just helping me out, just chucking it anywhere they could.
Keeping back the flames. As a row of homes in Barnsley were engulfed by a fire yesterday, neighbours did what they could to stop the spread.
I got told 4 times, 5 times to come out with police, and I just wouldn't. And I just explained to him, I said, if you put yourself in my shoes, what would you do? And he just says, well, only way I was going to come out of here, we're getting arrested. But I heard fire brigade come and he says, right, we need you to come out of your properties. But I knew I got it under control at my side because I'd wet everything through around here.
How quickly were these houses going up? Because we understand it spread incredibly fast, didn't it?
I was on my shed roof and I could see neighbours coming out of the house as flames were engulfing up through windows smashing, everything. They evacuated out, got out, and that house took literally 15-20 minutes, it were gone.
The blaze on Woodland Drive was one of 228 incidents dealt with by South Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service yesterday. In Sprotborough, like in Barnsley, residents tried to douse garages with garden hoses as they waited for help. Here, more than 50 gardens and outbuildings were damaged during the fire that stretched along half a mile of a railway embankment.
Well, we're all okay. So first and foremost, that's the main thing. There's some personal things that we've lost that were sentimental to us. This was my parents' house. But possessions, they can be replaced.
But everybody's safe, that's the main thing.
Everybody's safe and everybody's well. I think the neighbours have all come together really good.
Homes caught fire in Maltby, where 3 crews from Derbyshire Fire and Rescue Service came to assist local firefighters. Doncaster Council say a major blaze in the village of Clayton spread to 3 properties. There were also several field fires across the county, including in Mexborough, where farmers could be seen using tractors to try and tackle the blaze. Major incidents were declared in North and South Yorkshire, and 4 firefighters were taken to hospital with heat exhaustion in what fire services say were incredibly difficult conditions.
It was one of the first times in my career history in 24 years that I've seen the Fire and Rescue Service having to effectively prioritise fires in this way. And where we would normally be calling on our regional partners, calls that we were putting into them were being met with the same calls coming into South Yorkshire. We were all in the same situation where on our own and having to stack incidents and prioritise them based on life and property risk.
People in Barnsley whose homes were gutted spent last night in temporary accommodation at a college and are being supported by the local council and housing association. Meanwhile, a fundraising appeal to help those families piece their lives back together has topped £19,000. Corinne Wheatley, BBC Look North.
You've got to feel for those families, haven't you, whose homes have been destroyed. Earlier I spoke with Dave Walton. He's the Chief Fire Officer for West Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service. I asked him how much pressure his crews were under yesterday.
Pressure on the service is something really extraordinary, Amy. It's something, I've been in the service over 30 years. I've seen nothing that compared to yesterday in terms of levels of activity, both for our firefighters out there dealing with it and also for our fire control staff dealing with the 999 calls as they came into our fire control centre. So massive numbers and really, as we've talked about it in other places, a game changer in terms of what firefighting looks like going forward with climate change.
Explain to me what your future provisions will be now with that in mind.
I think it's something we've got to learn lessons from yesterday as well. As a service, we are well prepared for climate change. You will be well aware that we deal with moorland fires, we deal with flooding on a very regular basis, and we're well equipped and we're well trained to do that. But what we saw yesterday, but both the nature of the incidents, the number of the incidents, and the way that some of those very rural incidents started to encroach upon urban areas, that was the difference. I think some of the shots that we saw from London were absolutely incredible and unprecedented in the UK. We didn't have similar property problems in West Yorkshire, and my colleagues in South Yorkshire did, but it was absolutely a game changer, and we need to learn lessons from what happened. And good as our response was yesterday, there's always something to learn, and that's what we'll be doing in the coming weeks and months. We
did know the hot weather was coming. We were pre-warned. Were you prepared enough for that?
We were. We knew it was coming. We'd had a busy weekend already. We'd had Monday was busy, and we knew the red extreme heat warning was sat over us for Tuesday. So we'd got extra staff in, both on fire engines and in our 999 fire control. But yesterday, it was just one of those that it was almost, it feels like no matter how many people we got in, there always would have been another fire and another fire and another fire that we needed to get to. It was that extreme.
And just talk us through some of the incidents that you were attending. What was causing the fires?
It's difficult to pick out the causes because very often these are very large open areas. And particularly yesterday, we couldn't investigate the cause of fires like we did ordinarily. But we have evidence that barbecues were the source of some of them yesterday. But sometimes it's something just as simple as a carelessly dropped cigarette or a broken piece of glass. That the ground is that dry at the moment that fires will start at the drop of a hat. And I know some people think of barbecue. If I use it carefully and just put it down on the ground without the flames getting out, I'm going to be okay. But the way the conditions are at the moment, simply the heat of the barbecue transferring into the ground or onto the grass can start a fire. And once it stops, you won't stop it, and it will spread faster than you can run.
Just very briefly, the temperature's dying down, but the ground is still really dry. Should we be changing the way in which we do things the next few days?
I think we'd continue to ask people to be extremely careful with the use of either heat or naked flames in open areas, and particularly careful as well. Let's not forget the risk about jumping in open water as well. That's just as much for risk. And we need to keep doing that, certainly through this hot period. But as a society, we need to think longer term about what do we do, because this is here to stay, climate change. There's no doubt about it.
Dave Walton, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, Paul is here now. Paul, I mean, what a day it was yesterday. As we just heard, the ground is tinder dry even today as temperatures fall. Where are we in terms of rainfall? Where have we been this year?
Huge deficit in rainfall. Remember spring, which is March, April and May, we had 70% of what would be normal rainfall. Statistics for Bramham, which is the same across many sites in Yorkshire. June, we had the average is 61.3 millimetres. We only had 33 millimetres of rain. That's approximately 50% of normal rainfall. Just look at July, if we can skip through that. July, the average is 55.1 millimetres, and there at Bramham, we've had 9% of what we would normally expect. So there's a huge rainfall deficit River levels, as we saw last night, Aysgarth, the River Ure, is running hugely below normal levels. Spoke to Yorkshire Water again today. They pumped 1.57 billion litres. Demand is close to record levels.
That graphic really shows that stark difference, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
What are the chances of rain coming anytime soon?
Well, I have just actually looked at the long-range charts, and sometimes you can take these things with a pinch of salt, but there's a general thrust again for much drier than average conditions as we head into August. So yes, there is a little bit of rain in the forecast, really trivial amounts. So it looks like the drought will last into August, and there's a chance that we could well see. I'm not saying that we could have the return of the heat we saw yesterday, but in setups like this, you always find that you perhaps get one or two further sort of bursts of heat from the south. So, I mean, all in all, it looks as though it's going to turn into an extremely dry summer.
Paul, thank you. And of course, you'll be back later with the forecast. Thank you. Well, following on from last night's story about power cuts, it's been restored in many areas, but villages such as Rossington and Orkley in the east of Doncaster have been told by Northern Power Grid to check their website for details on when their power should be back on. That's easier said than done, isn't it? You're watching Wednesday's Look North. Goodness me, what a week it has been. How have you found sleeping in this hot weather? Share your tips with us, and we'll share some of the best ones at the end of the programme. You can get in touch in the usual way. You can email us, look.north@bbc.co.uk, or Twitter @BBCLookNorth. We look forward to hearing from you. Let's take a look at some of the other stories that are in the news today. The Transport Secretary has told Look North that South Yorkshire's Mayor should consider becoming the owner of Doncaster Sheffield Airport. In a move that would amount to effective nationalisation, Grant Shapps suggests it might be a way for guaranteeing the struggling airport's future. The current owners, Peel Group, announced last week that they're considering closing it down. Here's our transport correspondent, Spencer Stokes.
Turbulent times for the privately owned Doncaster Sheffield Airport. A week on from Peel Group announcing they're looking at ending flights, the Transport Secretary has said public ownership might be the best outcome. A suggestion that South Yorkshire's Mayor considers a purchase. It's a template that's already been used on Teesside.
And I think the example that the Mayor could follow is pretty much what Ben Halsham has done in Tees Valley, where he's taken that airport, taken it over and is turning it around. So I'll certainly be working with the South Yorkshire Combined Authority. Doncaster Sheffield should be a very important, successful airport, and I was very concerned to hear of the owners, that's the Peel Group's plans on this.
Privatisation is on the move.
Trains, telecom, energy, water. For 40 years, Conservatives have favoured private over public ownership. So a Conservative minister calling for an airport to be nationalised, that might surprise some people.
But I really don't care about the language around it. By the way, Manchester Airport or Stansted or East Midlands, these all have partial local government ownership, I think, behind them. I'm really not bothered about the format, I'm more bothered about saving the thing.
In 2018, Tees Valley Combined Authority paid £40 million for Teesside Airport after Peel Group threatened closure.
We've nationalised Teesside Airport. Let's not make any bones about it. We use the power and the money and the power and the money that was given to us by government through devolution, which South Yorkshire has. There is an option available to them, but they might have other options available to keep the airport open and get rid of Peel.
But last year, Teesside Airport made an £11 million loss, so the Combined Authority is having to plough in another £20 million. South Yorkshire's Labour Mayor fears taking control of Doncaster would mean less money for other public services.
The private sector should be leading on the investment, the risk, the innovation that it takes to run an airport. They're the best people to run an airport, as I think we're seeing up in the northeast where things aren't going that well. And that's what I want Peel Holdings to do. I want them to raise their game. And if they're not prepared to do it, then I want somebody else to come in and do that for them.
A hazy future for the airport. Consultation continues, but ultimately decisions on its survival rest with owners Peel Group. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North, Doncaster.
A judge has begun summing up evidence in the trial of a mother and her partner accused of murdering her child in Huddersfield. 15-year-old Sebastian Kalinowski died last year from untreated rib fractures. The court was shown videos of him being hit and kicked, which had been recorded on CCTV cameras installed at home by the accused. The judge said today that the jury will have found the footage harrowing, upsetting and difficult to watch, but instructed them to put the emotion to one side in considering the evidence. Agnieszka Kalinowski and her partner Andrzej Lataszewski deny murder, but he has admitted manslaughter. The trial continues. Now, if you've been following politics, there are just 2 MPs left in the race to replace Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, as they both have connections to Yorkshire. Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor and Richmond MP, will be going up against Liz Truss, the former Foreign Secretary who went to school in Roundhay in West Yorkshire, and they both came top in today's ballot. The new Tory leader will be announced on the 5th of September. A West Yorkshire fire service that helps people with drug and alcohol issues has been rated outstanding. Forward Leeds was supporting more than 3,500 people at the time they were inspected by the Care Quality Commission in May. The service, which runs Seacroft, Armley and Curgate, were described as easy to access, with staff treating people with compassion, kindness and respect. Now, are you a Love Island fan? Well, it seems Halifax town player Jamie Allen is, and he's entering the Love Island villa. The football forward only signed a new contract 6 weeks ago, but this afternoon the club announced the news, saying that he's made his intentions clear, describing the opportunity as something that must be very important to him, and that his position with the club will be reviewed on his return. Delays in an investigation into allegations that a Sheffield church carried out gay therapy have prompted the Diocese of Sheffield to take legal advice. Now, earlier this year, you may remember that Look North reported that Matthew Draper had made a complaint that he was subjected to gay conversion therapy at St Thomas Philadelphia Church. Well, now emails leaked to Look North have emerged that the diocese has a frustration that the church has not shared information with the investigators. Mark Ansell has this exclusive report.
Yeah, you can't stop being the person who you are, and so trying to push that down or change something about yourself that's so innate is very, very dangerous. It was horrifying because they told me that there was parts of myself that I needed to push out and that I was being controlled by Satan and things like that. So to be told those things about yourself is really hard, and also when you believe it, you know, it's really bad for your mental health.
Matthew Draper says he suffered long-term trauma after undergoing a form of exorcism at St Thomas Philadelphia Church in Sheffield 8 years ago. He says he was told prayer would rid him of the demons of homosexuality. In February, the charity Barnardo's was brought in by the Diocese of Sheffield to conduct a review into Matthew's claims. But that investigation has hit problems. I've been shown emails from the Diocese of Sheffield which say that they are frustrated by the lack of progress being made in that investigation, in terms of the lack of information being shared by St Thomas Philadelphia to Barnardo's, despite publicly stating their intention to participate in that investigation.
I feel betrayed again. It feels like they're intentionally holding things up, which to me suggests they've got something to hide. If they are putting the needs of the organisation ahead of the needs of survivors, in my case, are they also doing that in other cases as well? That's a real important question.
Conversion therapy is illegal in many European countries and is due to be banned in the UK for gay or bisexual people, but not for transgender people. Matthew is being supported by advocate Chrissy Malidi from Equalities and Human Rights UK.
One of our major concerns is in relation to safeguarding current people, as well as the historical cases that have taken place. And as long as this is protracted out, it's causing harm, distress and alarm to people. And really, in terms of that pastoral care, that safeguarding aspect, there has been no due regard given to this or to the impact it's having upon Matthew.
In a statement, St Thomas Philadelphia Church says it does not engage in conversion therapy and continues to want to engage in an investigation of the allegations raised. The church is disappointed that the terms of the investigation are not being followed and that fundamental legal points regarding information sharing remain unanswered after several months by Sheffield Diocese. We approached Barnardo's for a response and they referred us to the Diocese of Sheffield. In a statement, the diocese said, in the interest of securing the best possible outcome of the investigation, we will not be commenting while it is in process. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Let's move on to some sport now, shall we? It's the quarter-final of the Women's Euros football tournament tonight, and the Lionesses include a lot of homegrown talent from our part of the world as they face Spain in Brighton. Here in Yorkshire tonight, one of the region's newest football teams, Wakefield AFC, have a pre-season friendly. Oggie's there, sleeves rolled up. He either means business, he's going to get stuck in, or he's just very warm.
You've got to mean business when you come to a place like this, which you may recognise, Amy, although not really, as a football venue. Have a look around, and particularly at those posts. Yes, it's Featherstone Rovers Post Office Road home stadium, but it's also the home of Wakefield AFC. I'm certainly right in saying it's one of the most ambitious non-league football clubs we've got. They're playing a pre-season friendly against Doncaster Rovers, no less, here, which kicks off in about 10 minutes. More on that in a second. They've also got ambitions here, by the way, for women's football to expand in the city of Wakefield, which brings us on to the big subject of the night, with such a big Yorkshire contingent in the England women's team. In about an hour's time, they'll take the field against Spain in the Euros quarter-final. Top goal scorer, Beth Mead, a product of North Yorkshire, of course, hoping to add to her tally of 5 goals in the tournament so far. And that's a match you can watch live on BBC One tonight. England against Spain in the Euro 2022 tournament. Good luck to them. Good luck to Wakefield AFC and Doncaster Rovers here tonight, who are just taking the field. And it's all engineered here at Wakefield AFC by this man, Adam Lockwood, an ex-Doncaster Rovers player. How ambitious are you? Why would you launch Wakefield AFC in the first place, Adam, here with so many other non-league teams to go at?
Yeah, obviously, in the beginning there were a group of businessmen that got an idea together that wanted to launch a team in Wakefield, and then things have developed. We've had investment and change of ownership, and we're just trying to grow the city of Wakefield and get it a bit more recognised. I think, obviously, it's well publicised that there's no football team in Wakefield. I was born and bred in Wakefield, and it's a big passion of mine that we do something about that. I want something for the city to be proud of in terms of a football team. There are lots of non-league heritage, great clubs, non-league around here, that do ever such a good job in terms of, through the pandemic it was well publicised and crowds grew within that, and for us our crowds are building each week, and we want to just improve that as much as we possibly can.
And I know you've got ambitions for junior women's football to expand in the city of Wakefield. In the short time we've got available, Adam, I just want to put to you one elephant in the room. We are, of course, here at Featherstone Rovers ground. Featherstone's a wonderful place. Yeah. But shouldn't we be in the city of Wakefield itself directly? Are you being ambitious in that direction long term?
I mean, other people have probably got that answer. For us, we want it to be a community, and Featherstone's definitely within that. Featherstone being great with us, and it's a great place for young footballers in this area to come and play the football. It's a great facility for people to come and watch a game of football. So
we wish you all the best. Your first game in the Northern Counties East League is at home to Glasshoughton Welfare, a nice derby a week on Saturday. Good luck to you. I'm sure we'll be back here in the future, and kick-off here is in about 2 minutes. It's launched. Football in the city of Wakefield.
Oggy, thank you. OK, should we move on to a bit of cricket now? And we've also had a little bit of rain, believe it or not. If I can find the right script for you. There's been rain. It's not been here, though. It was actually in Somerset, the rain last night. Let's have a look.
Well, I bet they didn't forecast that.
No, they didn't forecast that. Play had to stop briefly for the second day running on day 2 of Yorkshire's match against Somerset. It was down in Taunton. The match itself wasn't a very good one, and we'll bring you the results on the late news tonight on that one.
Whether it was hot yesterday.
Now, many of you have been getting in touch about how you managed to sleep last night. My kids had ice packs in pillowcases. I slept on the bathroom floor it was the coolest place in the house. David Alice says that he's sent a picture of his dog on the floor saying Percy beat us to it, otherwise we'd have taken it. Andy Six says, I've not slept since Monday. Paul Hardisty says, hot water bottle with cold water in the freezer, slept all the way through the night. Herman says, I just turned on my aircon. What a show-off Herman is. How about you, Paul?
Last night I didn't sleep a wink, but a wet towel wrapped round your neck is one of the best tips.
That's not worked for me. Bathroom floor all the way.
Bit of a passion killer, but it does the trick. Let me show you a couple of pictures that have been sent in the last 24 hours. Robin Hood's Bay, a few people on the beach there, a lot of cloud, temperatures back down to normal there. This was the scene. The next picture is a scene in Cawood. The wheat, I'm sure, will be harvested within days. It looks ready to go there. Keep the pictures coming in on Instagram, Twitter and on the Weather Watcher website. So it's a very quiet period of weather, and tomorrow temperatures will be back down to normal. It's still been quite warm across central and eastern areas, but tomorrow a lot of cloud, the breeze in the northeast, so we're back to 20 or 21 degrees. Very quiet, high pressure in charge. It's a weak area of high pressure. It does mean that we are at risk from showers, perhaps on Friday again. This feature a bit of patchy rain on Saturday night, but amounts of rain are going to be trivial and nowhere near what we need to get moisture in the ground and in the reservoirs. And we've created a lot of cloud this afternoon. That cloud is now thick enough. It's producing a few light drizzly showers, but no more than that, a millimetre of rain if you're lucky. In fact, it might turn out to be a bit damp and drizzly across the Pennines. Further east, it's dry. Still a warm night, actually. Temperatures 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. So tomorrow's high water times in Scarborough, 10:55, and Bridlington at 11:13. So quite a cloudy day to come tomorrow. In fact, a damp start in places, a bit of drizzle, perhaps especially over the Pennines. A risk of 1 or 2 showers breaking out in the afternoon, but most of us, certainly away from the Pennines, should be dry. And even across the Pennines, again, we're looking at a millimetre or 2 at best. Best chance of brightness always further east. And take a look at these temperatures. Remember yesterday, 40 degrees. Tomorrow, we're back to normal, 20 degrees. A huge 20-degree drop in temperatures in just 48 hours. The further outlook on Friday, it's rather cloudy. Again, a risk of a scattering of showers. The weekend, a bit of patchy rain Saturday night, but actually the weekend looks warm, dry, bright. A few showers on Monday. That's the forecast. More at 10:30.
Sounds more like it, doesn't it? That's it from us. I'll be back with your late news later time of 10:45. I might just sleep here, actually. Coolest place to be.
You're right.
Good night.